know that you're a generational chain breaker? You're ready to liberate yourself from past limitations and perspectives to manifest and quantum leap into your highest potential on your highest timeline. But sometimes you need a little support on your journey. If you're ready to live an abundant life, grounded and secure in your body and in the real world, join us here to expand your perspective and learn new tools. I'm your host, Becky Royts, a Reiki master, author, healing hairstylist, and life coach, and this is the Everyday Healing Podcast. Hello, babes. Welcome back. I have a very special treat for you today. So today's episode is actually the majority of call one from my program, Inferno, your Rich Bitch Rebirth. So we dive deep into all things money energetics, and I know that you are going to absolutely love this. So buckle up, grab your notepad if you want to. I'm going to throw some of the belief questions in the show notes that you can also answer later on so that you can do some of the homework. And for those of you who absolutely love this topic, love this conversation, are really ready to burn those money beliefs to the ground, I will also link Inferno in the show notes so that you can dive into the rest of this program. So much love to you. Enjoy. Oh my God, I am super excited. For those of you who don't know this about me, I fucking love talking money energetics. I get really fired up on it or about it. I have notes for myself today because I know that I have so much to say about this that I'm going to try and keep myself a little bit on track so that I don't go off on too many tangents. First and foremost today, we are focusing on money energetics. So before we begin, obviously, I want to invite you all to just take a couple deep breaths, nice big inhales, big releasing exhales, letting go of, setting aside any thoughts or worries from the outside world, just allowing yourself to really ground and tune into your body. If at any point your brain today is having a hard time accepting or opening up to the concepts or ideas or perspectives that are talked about today, I want to invite you to just tune back into the breath. And I do want to invite you to just do this little collarbone tapping technique. So when we tap the collarbone right here, either side, doesn't matter. You just take two fingers and you just tap your collarbone and breathe. And tapping the collarbone helps you open up to new possibilities. Okay, so when the brain is having a hard time accepting a new perspective and it's trying to argue all of these old beliefs or perspectives with you, take a couple nice deep breaths and just tap the collarbone. Tune into the body, telling your body and your brain that it's safe to open up to these new perspectives, okay? So, first of all, money is not a fucking destination, okay? So, money is a tool. It's an energy. And I actually really want to use the example today of just like healing is not a destination, okay? Your end goal is not to be healed. But can you imagine if I was like, my goal is to be healed? We know that healing is a tool that helps us get to where we're going. Our destination is to feel a certain way, to show up a certain way in our lives. And we use tools to help us get there. And money is one of those tools that we use. So if you're someone who has this destination of being rich, you're like, I just want to be rich. And I mean, come on, who's in here? Who is in here that has ever been like, I just want to be rich? Come on, I want to see hands up, or I want to see yeses in the chat, because I know that this has happened before. So if you're one of those people that is like, yep, I just want to be rich, you are putting a dollar amount on your destination, okay? And that is likely why you are having such a just sticky time with being able to welcome in money, because money is not a fucking destination, okay? It is a tool that you use to drive you on your journey. So let's move into poor bitch vocabulary for a second. I know everyone's gonna get really uncomfortable with this, and I am pretty ruthless with my friends when it comes to this. If I have a friend around me that is like, I can't do that, I'm poor, I have to restrain myself from literally slapping that bitch across the face, because our words are fucking spells, and we know this, okay? Our words have so much weight in what we bring into our lives. So if you are someone who is like, I'm poor, I can't afford that. That's just not something that is ever going to happen for me. How many of you here have said things like that? How many of you are fueling that poor bitch vocabulary? Yeah, exactly. Staring into my soul. Yes, exactly. Exposed. Okay. So I want to give you an example. I'm going off script. Fuck, I knew I was going to do this. Okay. Let's say you meet someone who is like, I just want to be your friend so bad. I think that you are just the shit. You are so fucking cool. I want to be your friend so bad. And every time you went to hang out with that person, they were like, you're just not really enough for me. I actually just don't feel like I'm not comfortable being around you because I'm not someone who feels like I could be friends with you. I'm not good enough to be your friend. And every single time you're around them, they're like, I'm not good enough. Or you're not enough. How likely are you to actually want to keep going back to those meetings? How likely are you to be like, yeah, I'm going to keep pouring my energy into this and be that person's friend? Exactly. So why, when it comes to money, do we think that we are going to attract something that we're like, I'm never going to have that? Or why do we think we're going to attract something that when little bits of it come to us, we're like, that's not enough, right? Like Ashley, when we started, you had a fucking coin in your book. Love that. How many of you have like been walking along and you're like, I'm ready to receive more money. And then you step over a coin and you're like, okay, right? Or like you make $5 unexpectedly and you're like, okay, cool. Yeah. But like that is the universe giving you that in these small amounts. And you're saying, I'm not ready to receive it, or that's not enough for me. And I want to tell you guys this like cute little story. The last circle that I hosted, it was the last circle that I ever hosted. And everyone was leaving. And one of the girls came up to me after and she's like, Becky, I found this. And it was a $5 bill. And she's like, I was obviously left here for you as a tip. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. And I took this $5 bill and it is pinned to my vision board because it is proof that the universe gives me money unexpectedly. So I also we're going to come back to this. We are definitely going to come back to this. But it's raining out today. And I was thinking about this morning. It's rainy. It's miserable. Maybe it isn't where you're watching. If it's not, soak up that fucking sun for us. It's raining, okay? Not for a second, can you imagine? Not for a second did I get up today and be like, it's cloudy and rainy. The sun's never coming back. It's just never coming back. No, I know that this weather is going to pass and the sun is going to come back. I hope you can see where I'm going with this. So why, when we have a money lull, are we like, it's never coming back? I'm just going to be poor forever. What am I get? Like the money is just, it's gone, right? And the difference is trust, right? We hold this inner like knowing and this trust that like the weather's going to change, the season's going to pass. We have this trust with everything else, but for some reason, we don't have this trust with money. And that is partially why I was talking to you about that in the small amounts, because the difference, and I know that you're probably already thinking this, the difference between knowing that the sun is going to come back out and not knowing that the money is going to come back is that proof, right? Because our brain wants fucking proof that it's going to come back around. But what proof do you know you already have that the money always comes? Right? If you're in abundant as fuck, you have already done this. We did a whole proof repertoire on abundance. If you are in there, go back to that, use it again and again and again and again. But I'll summarize it for you now. The same way I use that $5 bill that was found on my property as proof that money comes to me unexpectedly, you can be doing that in small ways as well. Just like the coin, right? Like when we find a coin, can you lean on that as proof that the money always comes? And start expanding your capacity to be able to receive, even if it's at that small little amount. I even still have, like next to that $5 bill on my vision board, I have a check for the first book that I ever sold. I was very fortunate that the person that wrote me this check wrote it as your first, like Becky's first book sale, and also paid me money for it. So I have this check that I never have to cash, and she paid me money. But I literally have this up as proof that I can do things, share my knowledge, and make money for it. And that is something that I lean on as proof, even when things feel a little bit stickier when it comes to money. Okay, how's everyone feeling with this? Is anyone like, I'm seeing where I'm kind of getting a little maybe not appreciative when the universe gives me money?
Love that, Tiffany. Okay, we're gonna get sciencey here for a second. Really, really light science. We're gonna talk about neuroplasticity, okay? So neuroplasticity is the ability for your brain to reorganize and rewire your beliefs. So like your neural pathways, your neural links, any of you who have already done this work with me before, you are familiar with this. So this is the science that any belief can be changed and can be rewired. So if you have a belief, neuroplasticity already proves to you that you can change that belief. How many of you right now have or are falling into the belief that the world is just too expensive right now? Yeah, the world is just too expensive right now. The economy is just out of control. People aren't spending money right now. They aren't spending like they used to. I'm just kidding. I love you. Okay, if we can remove here for a second. I'm attacking you in the most loving way. Hey, this is your poor binge Inferno, okay? We are burning this shit to the ground. Let's remove the things that you can't control. You can't control the state of the economy. What goes with that? You can't control the price of things. You can't control the bullshit around other people's beliefs of whether or not people are or aren't buying right now and what they can or can't afford. So let's bring you back to what you can control. So you can control what you're consuming, what you're buying, the energy you're showing up in, and taking your fucking power back. So like, I don't want to say, I'm not going to say like, don't watch the news, but maybe don't watch the fucking news. Because if you're someone that is consuming shit like this, that is telling you, even on social media, if you're following accounts that are like, people aren't buying, people aren't spending like they used to, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't need to be true for you. There are also simultaneously, sure, maybe that's true for some people, for other people, there are people out there still making millions, multi-millions of dollars a year. Okay, I was in a room with so many of them recently that are just like you and me, right? Like they are making millions of dollars a year. And guess what? They're living in the same economy. They're in the same world as we are. They're no different. So I want you to remember that you don't have to subscribe to that bullshit and you don't have to allow yourself to consume it. Because rich is a feeling. It is not a fucking number. There are many people out there that have super fat bank accounts who feel poor as fuck. Okay? There are people who make lots of money a year who are still spending like crazy, living paycheck to paycheck because they have these money beliefs that they can't hold it or that they're not enough or that people are like, it's all still the same thing on a bigger scale. So, what you need to tune into is the feeling, the frequency of what rich actually means to you and how rich you actually are, even in this moment. Because if we look at the word rich, what's the feeling that's associated with that, right? Like when people are going after being rich, they're really looking for freedom, right? That's why people talk about like financial freedom all the time, right? They want to feel that sense of freedom. So, in what ways are you already fucking rich? Like, do you turn on your tap and water flows out freely? Do you send a message to someone that you care about and it connects to a tower like fucking magically and it just sends the message? Do you have nourishing food in your fridge? Do you have people willing to listen to your opinions and your perspectives in some capacity? Whether that's just people that care for you or maybe people online, maybe fucking clients. Do you have someone who loves and cares for you deeply? Because those are all so fucking rich. They are so rich. But instead, we've put this monetary value or number on what rich means. Have any of you ever gone through a drive-through and had the person in front of you pay for your drink? Ever? Because how fucking rich is that? How fucking rich is that? Right? And did you celebrate it as how rich it actually is? Because every single time anything like that happens, you should be fucking celebrating it. I could come up with so many fucking examples of how rich you all are, but I think you're getting the point. Yes, see, I love that. And then you shared that wealth by buying the next person behind you. Yes, I fucking love that, Kim. I am also, this is something I'm going to preach until I'm blue in the face. I know this. I do it in every single one of my spaces. But you all know that if you can't truly appreciate what you're given, then you haven't expanded your capacity to receive more. And we touched on this already with those small amounts of money. But If you're not accepting what you're receiving, you're keeping a wall up to receive more of any kind of wealth, right? Whether that's time wealth, health wealth, love wealth, or money wealth. And I do really want to lay out these 4 pillars of wealth for you, because I think that when it comes to wealth and when it comes to being rich, we always just put it on money. But like, how wealthy are you in time, right? Because a lot of the time, especially if you're an entrepreneur, if you're not bringing in a whole lot of money, you often have the gift of time. And really, it's about tuning into that richness in time of, what am I going to do with this time that is going to help fuel my energy to continue to be in this mode of receivership? What about your health? How are you feeling with your health? Can you pour into that health wealth a little bit more? Or can you really just feel into how grateful you are and appreciate how healthy you are? And that is also a sense of wealth. And what about love, right? Love. Oh, how many people do you have in your life that love the shit out of you? For those of you who have kids, do your kids just like love every fucking minute with you? What about your parents, your partner, your friends? They love the shit out of you. And for some reason, you're not like, I'm the richest bitch on the planet for having all of this love in my life, right? And then, of course, money. Of course, money. Are you celebrating the shit out of the $11 order that comes in? Are you celebrating the shit out of the 25 cents that you fucking find on the ground, so that you're saying to the universe, thank you so much. I love receiving money as a tool, as an energy exchange in any form. You really need to be prioritizing how fucking rich you are in the smallest of ways, so that you can keep yourself in that energy of receiving. Especially if you're someone who right now naturally anchors into a scarcity loop of, there's never enough time, there's never enough money, there's just never enough space to breathe, right? If you're falling into any of those loops of there's never enough blank, you're holding yourself in that scarcity. So can you challenge that so that you're not in that loop, when instead of there's never enough blank, how can I make more of this? Or if there's not enough time, how can I prioritize the time that I have? Because that's a big one, right? So many of us are like, there's just never enough time. And then we're not actually paying attention to what we're spending our time on. And we're just like consuming bullshit and comparing ourselves to other people on social media and going, oh my God, I don't know where all of my time just went. But really, it's to things that aren't moving the needle. So, how are you going to challenge the beliefs that you've gotten clear on yesterday? So, first and foremost, you're going to begin challenging those beliefs around money. And if it is a belief that isn't steering your life, which I'm sure if you're here, it's not a belief that is supporting your freaking dreams, then I want you to allow yourself to hold compassion first and foremost for the person who did let it steer theirs in the past. If you can tell where that belief is coming from, if you're like, I know that this is something that my mom used to say, or I know that this is something that my grandpa says, or anything like that, can you just hold that person in compassion, knowing that they did choose or are choosing to let that belief steer their life? But in having compassion for them, you can allow that to assist you in letting that belief go without judgment as something that doesn't support you. Because what I want you to remember is that step one is always acknowledging and challenging the belief when it comes up in your mind. And I know that this can, exactly, it doesn't have to be yours. And like I said in the channel or in the chat earlier, just because that story didn't start with you does not mean that it can't fucking end with you, does not mean it doesn't get to evolve through you. I know I do that. I love the chat, but then I'm like, oh my God, where am I? So remembering, first and foremost, to challenge that belief, right? That is how neuroplasticity works. When we are able to challenge the belief in our mind, we acknowledge, okay, right, this isn't something that supports me anymore. And then once we've challenged that belief, this is where things get a little scary for people, is what action am I going to take to move past it? What are you going to fucking do about it? So how are you currently choosing to fuel those negative beliefs in your life? Who are you around? What conversations are you having? What media are you consuming? We talked about this a little bit before, but then what actions do you know you need to take to realign with a new positive belief? So let's break this down for a second. Who are you hanging around right now that is constantly speaking or fueling that poor bitch vocabulary? Right? Who are you around that is having the conversation of like, oh, we just can't afford that, or no one can afford that right now, or oh my God, the world is just so expensive. I've even had conversations with my husband about this. Every once in a while, you fall into those weird conversations where I'm like, whoa, we need to realign here. This is not welcoming in goodness. This is welcoming in the shit. So we're not having conversations like this anymore. Yes. And it's hard when it's family, right? Oh, sorry, I should have read that. Ashley said, I don't subscribe to the Poor Shit or Money Talk Online, but it's mom and dad. Yes, it is really hard when it's family members. And the hard action steps with family members is having those conversations and setting those boundaries of this isn't energy that is healthy for me to consume. This isn't energy that, or this isn't a conversation that is healthy for me where I am right now. Because and even explaining if you need to, when we have these types of conversations, it really pulls me into like that lack or that scarcity mentality or loop where you can dumb down that verbiage if you need to. Or if you can't have that conversation, you simply uncomfortably leave the room because that's what's going to support you, right? Or do you have friendships maybe or friend circles where every once in a while you get together with that one group of friends and you're like, oh, I've been friends with these bitches for so long and oh, it's going to be really good to catch up. And then you all get together and you go for brunch or something. And then the bitch fest starts and you're like, oh, it's happening again. Or you don't even realize it when it's happening, and then you leave and you're like, fuck, I did it again, or it happened again, or I was really hoping that it would be different this time. And it's really hard to let go of those types of relationships, but it is also still really important to acknowledge that they are fueling those fears and those limitations inside of you, and they still need to be let go of. Again, with the media, are you someone who consumes the news, or maybe your partner likes to watch the news with their coffee in the morning, and even though you're not watching it, you're still taking it in, and you're taking in all of that negativity that's going on in the world, all of those fear stories. Or maybe you have the news app that pops up on your phone, and I know it's hard because there's this line of like, I don't want to be ignorant to what's going on in the world, and I also don't want to be in that energy of fear and scarcity and lack. So it really is just being able to discern for yourself what your healthy level of consumption is when it comes to news and media, even media online, right? Like what accounts you're still following that you're noticing, I really don't subscribe to this, but for some reason I'm still following it. I even have a hard time sometimes with like spirituality accounts. Like there are some like really awesome spiritual accounts that have like some really cool tools and information. But if they're always talking about the dark energies and they're always like, oh, beware, beware, the dips are coming, I'm like, oh no. And then we make that mean something, right? News content in over a year. Yes, exactly. I haven't watched it in years, and it's been the best thing ever. Not watching the news literally changed my life. I know I'm so dramatic. Everything has changed my life, but it's true. It's all played a part. But like, if you're consuming content that is always like, oh, there's this bad thing coming, then you're preparing your nervous system for this bad thing that's coming. The same as like when people talk about like economy dips or like the stock market. Like, I don't want to know that shit because I don't fucking care. What I care about is how I'm showing up in my energy and then how that's received on the other side, right? Because like we said, money is an energy. It's not a fucking outcome, right? So when we show up in, I also want to give the example of like, so many people think that you have to like struggle or work so fucking hard to receive money, but money is also a byproduct of your thoughts and your ideas and your creativity and your energy, right? So like, that is still putting in work, but it's not necessarily like struggling or hustling really fucking hard all the time. It's being able to show up solid in your energy. So your homework for tonight and tomorrow is to rewrite the negative beliefs as positives. And when your brain tries to challenge them, I want you to reroute with a new question or an anchor into proof that you've already experienced in some way at some point in your life, just like the sun always coming back out, right? Like, what is the proof that you have to anchor into? And like, instead of, I can't afford that, how can I afford that, right? Many of you in this room right now are entrepreneurs. Instead of, I can't afford that, how can I afford that? What the fuck can I do to make more money? Right? Not in like that struggle of like, oh my God, I have to make more money. I need to make more money. No, like, how can I make more money? What possibilities are out there where I can make more money? Right? Can I just share myself online? Like, can I share my offers online? Oh yeah, I forgot I haven't really been doing that. I guess I could share my offers online. Could I create a micro offer where I can offer value to people and bring more money in? Can I put myself out there in some way? Can I even maybe just like do a free master class and be like, hey guys, this is me. This is what I have to share. Welcome into my world. Yes, you can. And if you're listening to this and you're not an entrepreneur, how can you make more money? Okay, can you go to your boss? Can you have a discussion about like your workload? Maybe ask for a raise. If not, is there extra shifts that you can pick up? Is there something that you can be doing for like extra work that can supplement that income in some way? And when we allow ourselves to shift into this frequency of possibility, we're not just asking ourselves, right? Or how can I make more money? We're also opening ourselves up to the universe, right? Because when we manifest, we are a partnership, right? It's a partnership between us and the universe, or between us and God, right? We co-create that. We are a co-partner in that. So when we say, I'm ready for this, the universe says, okay, what about this? And then it's our job to act on that, right? So I think where people get really hung up with like manifestation is that they're like, okay, I'm ready. And they wait, and they wait, and they wait. And the universe is giving them all of these potential like possibilities or options that they can choose, but they aren't taking action, because the taking action is the fucking scary part, right? And we need to be able to challenge those beliefs in order to have the courage to take that action. So instead of, again, I can't afford that, how can I afford that? Instead of, I'm poor, how about I allow myself to be in the frequency of being open to new possibilities and opportunities? It is so much easier. And I think it's just that it's easier because it's, okay, wait, I'm going to read this. It's so crazy how the negative mindset is so much easier to stay in than the positive. It's only easier because it's comfortable, because it's known, right? So it's only easier because it's a habit. And once you make that positive mindset a habit, it is going to feel just as easy. So it really is, though, just building that muscle, right? It's so much easier to not exercise than it is to exercise, right? But then once you start exercising, it gets a little bit easier. For some of us who fucking hate it, it's still kind of hard, but is the more you do it, the more you're like, oh, okay, and the better you feel about it. And once you really, I'm using exercise as an example because I feel like it's a really good one, but like then the more you exercise, the more you get that feeling associated with it of like, oh, I feel good when I do this. And then that becomes your driving force. So the more proof you keep building for yourself of what it looks like to be in that higher frequency, to be in that positive mindset, the more your brain is going to go, oh, I like this. Oh, actually, I fucking like this, right? And it's going to want to do it more often. I even want to give you, this is a really ridiculous example. Dimity, this is the one I was going to give you yesterday. I forgot. When you're building a new belief, okay, and you're trying to challenge something in your mind. So let's say you are rewiring the belief. Can someone drop a belief in the chat for me? Give me one of your beliefs that you came up with around money. Money is inconsistent. Okay. Okay. Love this one. Okay. So obviously, what's your counter to this, right? Do we want money as consistent? Like, I like it, but I feel like we could do better. I kind of like money as limitless because it feels just a little bit more expansive. Okay, so anytime, yes, money is limitless. Okay, because it is, right? Like, I'm sorry, but money used to be backed by gold and now it's not. So now they just boop numbers into their little computers and they print more money every fucking day. Yes, the opportunities for money to come in are limitless. Yes, exactly. But yeah, so like, let's be real though. Like, money is just printed. Like my husband says to me, they make more every day, right? Like they do. They actually just make more money every day. So who's to say that you can't be on the receiving end of that, right? Okay, so opportunities for money to come in. Okay, so the opportunities for money to come to me are limitless. Okay, so when you have that trigger in your mind of money is inconsistent or one of those like icky feelings that come up with it, I want you to pair this with something that you do out of habit every single day. Okay, one that I really like that I did for a really long time is every time I went pee. Okay, you with me? When I went to rip the toilet paper, I made sure that I ripped it in the opposite direction because our brain does things out of habit. And every single time I would rip that in the opposite direction. I also did it with paper towel. I was making sure that I was like mindfully doing something the opposite to how I used to. I would remind myself of what that belief was that I was rewiring. So like when you do that, the opportunities for money coming into me are limitless, right? So you're pairing, you're doubling down on that like affirmation, but like that new belief with something that you do habitually, okay? I've even, but like in a new way, because you're doubling down. You're like, this is something I do out of habit. I'm breaking that fucking habit. So you're breaking that habit and breaking the habit of the negative mindset or like that limiting belief at the same time. I have also gone as extreme as like walking through the house backwards because, you know, I always walk forwards, right? Like that's what we do out of habit. I will literally walk through the house backwards if I can feel like one of those beliefs coming up. I'm like, what can I also physically do in this moment that would be the complete opposite of what I would normally do to signal to my body that this is fucking different? Like we're not doing things the same anymore. Or I would like skip sideways or oh yeah, literally. Yeah, walking backwards, writing with the wrong hand. Yeah, I'm absolutely ridiculous. Yes. I actually had a client that did the pulling the paper towel in reverse um, really consistently while she was rewiring a limiting belief, and it blew her fucking mind. So if this is not something that you have tried, please try this while you're rewiring these beliefs. So your homework for tomorrow is to take action. Okay? So tonight, oh yeah, of course. I'm right-handed. Like pay attention. Guys, pay attention the next time you friggin' rip toilet paper, okay? You always do it the same way. Most of us always habitually do things pretty much the same way, especially if you have a little bit of OCD. You do it the same fucking way every time, okay? John and I were even laughing. We went to a restaurant for breakfast 2 days in a row. We sat in the exact same fucking seats both times, okay? Like we are creatures of habit. It's what we do. So your homework for is to get clear on the opposites of your negative beliefs. So I want to make sure that you are writing out what the opposites are. Then your homework for tomorrow is to take action. Okay, so you are going to do the thing that you know you need to do to burn whatever that old identity is to the ground, or to burn that old belief to the ground. And then I want you to fucking share it in the chat because you are going to be held accountable. You did not step in here because you just wanted to like learn something new and then okay, bye. You are in here because you said you're ready to walk through the fire, so it's time to fucking walk through the fire. So what are those beliefs that you are ready to lay to rest, and what are the things that you need to change to stop showing up in that energy, right? What are the things that you do consistently every single day that you know are actually fueling those limiting beliefs? How can you completely change up your schedule? I know for some of you that's going to make you really uncomfortable to change up how you do things in the day, but how can you change something consistently starting tomorrow that is going to help you burn those beliefs to the ground? I also want to invite you to get what it would feel like for those beliefs to be true, right? Because just like we said at the beginning, how money isn't a destination, it's a tool. What was the feeling that you had associated with money being a destination before, right? What were the feelings that you thought money being a destination was going to bring into your life? And can you allow yourself to just get clear on what those feelings are and anchor into them? Because then every time that you do have proof of that feeling on a small scale day to day, you can also remind yourself that it's fucking working, that it's happening, that you are in that mode of receivership, that you are in that rich energy.